He has stressed the importance of registering to vote in the 2024 elections. This is ahead of the national registration this weekend on the 18th and the 19th. IEC Chief Electoral Officer Simon Mabolo says with approximately 26.2 million of the 39 million eligible voters in South Africa currently on the voters' roll, it is important to increase the participation in elections. According to the Electoral Commission, registration weekends provide the greatest registration yield in comparison with other methods, including online registration. The IEC announced the entity's readiness at its headquarters in Centurion. And Chief Executive Officer of Elections Management and Consulting Agency of Africa, Lulu White, now joins us for more on this discussion. And Lulu joins us via our video link. Lulu, thank you so much for joining us here on SABC News. Of course, we've seen the announcement coming out from the IEC. They are saying that they are ready indeed to hold this voter registration just before the 2024 elections take place. From your observations, do you think that this time around they are ready to hold this voter registration?
Definitely, I think they are ready. I think in preparation for this elections, the IEC had about 5 years to get ready. So I think as far as voter registration is concerned, in preparation for voter registration weekend, I believe that they are ready. There were no interruptions this time around with COVID. They did not experience any interruptions. And I think we can also take appreciation of the online registration efforts that they've actually put in place to try and make sure that a lot more people actually try and participate in this voter registration. So it is my firm belief that they are actually quite ready.
And of course, we've heard from the Chief Executive Officer of the IEC, Mr. Simon Mabolo, saying that they are indeed looking at least registering at least 1 million South Africans. Can they convince South Africans to go out and try and register to vote? I mean, when you look at the last election, it was very difficult to get South Africans to vote, and this time around to get them to register. Do you think that there is enough convincing to get them to those voting stations?
I think the reality that the IEC really does face is that everything else is always almost geared toward the actual election process. One seems to get the impression that whenever it's voter registration weekend, it's just a weekend of voter education. One would have expected that as advanced as we have come in our democracy, our institutions would be awarding or giving more money to the IEC to ensure that the voter education efforts that they're trying to introduce get more funding and get more publicity. Unfortunately, with each election trial that we have seen, we seem to get the impression that voter registration happens only, voter education happens only towards a voter registration process and then towards an election. And I believe that this is something that really the IEC needs to improve upon. Could it be that the people that are responsible for funding the IEC for these elections do not see the value of voter education? That's a discussion and an argument that we can have. But I think in as much as they have a responsibility to ensure that members of the civic society are educated about voter education efforts, they also have to be honest in terms of their budgeting, to say how much budgeting is being given for voter education efforts, and do they need more of a budget? Can they advance an argument that says voter education should actually be a 5-year process as opposed to being a 6-month process towards an election?
And when we talk about voter education, of course, we always have to talk about the importance of urging South Africans to go and register so that they can participate in the elections next year. Maybe if you can just highlight that to the public and to South Africans. Why is it so important to go and register?
Look, and the media has been abuzz with a new, it's like a new term that 2024 is the new millennials 1994. And that is perhaps something that young people have decided to embrace and introduce it like that, whether it's a political jargon or, to make sure that young people are just as excited and as enthused with the next year's elections. It's a different ballgame altogether. But it is very important that young people come out in their numbers, because if you have a registered population of 23 million, plus minus 23 million, when you have a potential of actually just getting 39 million people to come through as voters, that means you're literally allowing the country to be governed by people who have voted, like by more or less than 50% of the people that would be participating. So you making a decision as a young person, particularly to go and contest, to register to vote and to actually participate in an election, is basically taking the future in your own hands and saying, my government will not be chosen for me by people that are in the minority.
And of course, we are also told by the IEC that the systems that they will be using this time around will be, of course, some sort of technology that even though it says the system is offline, that South Africans can still register to vote. How important is it to know that? Because, I mean, they've had challenges in the past when it comes to their systems being offline. This time around, saying that, even if you are in a remote area where there is no network, you can still register to vote.
Look, I think as far as the IEC's IT systems, I would not be able to give much of a comment. One would imagine, obviously, from a man sitting outside and observing in, that perhaps that would be a situation where while you log into the system, while you're offline, the minute you're offline, then the information is updated. I don't know what the semantics and the dynamics of that is, but obviously there are obviously implications, and perhaps this is something that the IEC would need to strengthen going into the future, to make sure that people are able to get realistic, real-time information with regards to their registration. I, for example, would be frustrated with registering for a process and then I don't get a confirmation that I've actually been registered. I would not be certain whether I'm actually qualified to go and vote in that area or not. So I think this is something they would obviously need to look into and strengthen in future with regards to ensuring that people are able, because technology has advanced. The reality is that the technology in this country has advanced. There's no excuse. You can't say, you can't not give people real-time information and real-time data when the whole industry around elections is actually preparing itself around that.
Yeah. And Lulu, before I let you go, of course, maybe if you can just give us your expectations of the 2024 elections. And you spoke a bit earlier on this campaign when it comes to, how these elections have been captured, that, of course, we are living in the times of coalitions. Many experts saying that, they are expecting South Africa, or the ANC rather, to fall under 50%. What are your expectations when it comes to these elections, with so many new parties now registering to be part of those elections?
Look, there's a huge dynamic that is also at play with regards to these particular elections, particularly when we talk about independents also taking part and participating at a national level with regards to these elections. I think there is a fair expectation from everybody across the board that the ANC will be taking a dip. And the reason why is not only on the basis of their performance over the last 10, 15 years, but it's also mainly on the fact that people that are coming out to the voting polls are actually getting younger, and the expectations that they have on the country are that they would like to see more people that look like them leading the country. So I think that is one dynamic that we can be realistic to say we are having an expectation that the ANC and the DA are likely to take a dip. We've got other big players that are coming to board. You've got EFF that has been on a meteoric rise ever since they became established. We've got Mogoeng's political party that is also now registered with the IEC. If I'm not mistaken, I've also heard recently that Colin Makubela is also registered a political party. There's also Ace Magashule is also registered a political party. So the playing field basically has become very wide, and it becomes very important for people such as myself, for example, in the space to be able to go to those organizations and offer a value proposition to say to them, look, we can assist you to be able to have an impact with the upcoming votes.
All right, Lulu, thank you so much for your time here at SABC News. That is Lulu White. She's the Chief Executive Officer for Elections Management and Consulting Agency of Africa, of course, giving us her insight when it comes to the voter registration weekend, and that takes place on Saturday and Sunday.